Good morning, students. So, today we are going to start from nutrient cycles. So, what do we understand by nutrient? See, every living organism in this earth require large number of nutrients for sustaining their life. So, some major nutrients are nitrogen, carbon, phosphorus, sulfur, etc., which are required by living organism for various life processes, and these nutrients just move around between living and non-living components, and this is what is called nutrient cycle. So how these nutrients flow from physical environment to the living organism and again subsequently back into the environment, that we are going to read. So today we'll cover nitrogen cycle only, and on the next class we'll read about carbon, phosphorus and hydrological cycle. Though water is strictly not a nutrient, but it is essential for life processes and is also cycled in nature, as we have already read about water cycle in previous classes. Next is the law of tolerance. The existence, abundance, and distribution of a species in an ecosystem is determined by whether the level of one or more physical or chemical factors fall within the range tolerated by that species. Means, this law stating that the abundance and distribution of an organism can be controlled by certain factors such as climate, some biological requirements, etc., where level of these exceeds the maximum or minimum limits of tolerance of that species. For example, if the climate becomes too hot or too cold, then some of the species may not be able to survive. So the temperature would be the limiting factor then. So temperature should be fall within the range that could be tolerated by that species. So the first one is nitrogen cycle. Nitrogen cycle is one of the most important nutrient cycle in the ecosystem. It is essential for protein synthesis, and almost 78% of nitrogen is present in the atmosphere. But plant directly cannot take nitrogen from the air. There is some process. Plants can only take nitrogen in soluble form, that is in the form of nitrate or ammonium ion. So nitrogen convert into usable form, which is fixed into the plant by several means, and this is called nitrogen fixation. Now let's read what are the sources through which nitrogen fix into the plant. So the first one is during lightning and rain, nitrogen that is present in the atmosphere combines with oxygen that dissolve in water and then enter into the soil as nitrate. Plants easily absorb nitrate. Next one is biological nitrogen fixation. Certain bacteria and blue-green algae can fix atmospheric nitrogen directly into nitrates. Burning of fossil fuels converts nitrogen to its oxide, which then converted into nitrates. Next one is industrial nitrogen fixation, where nitrogen combines with hydrogen under high pressure and high temperature to yield ammonia, which in turn oxidizes to form nitrates or ammonium salts. Now let me explain you how nitrogen flow from environment to the living organism. See, in the ecosystem, nitrogen is stored in all organic matter. As we know, nitrogen is fixed into the plant by different means, and plant use those nitrogen to make proteins. And on the other hand, animals get their share by consuming those plants or some other dead organic matter. So when this plant or animal dies or expel waste, it is acted upon by bacteria and is converted to ammonia in a process called ammonification or mineralization. Then this ammonia convert into nitrates and nitrites, that is NO2 to NO3, which is brought about by some nitrifying bacteria, and this process is called nitrification. This nitrate is utilized by the plant for protein synthesis, or even some denitrifying bacteria convert nitrate to free nitrogen, which then given back to the atmosphere, and this process is called denitrification. Here are some man's action on nitrogen cycle. So the first one is burning of fossil fuels introduces oxides of nitrogen into the air, which causes acid rain. Acid rain results when there is an emission of nitrogen oxide and sulfur dioxide into the atmosphere due to burning of fossil fuels, which then react with water and convert it into acid, that is nitric acid and sulfuric acid, which has adverse effects on our environment, such as it affects the aquatic environment, which decreases the pH level of the soil, which is not suitable for many plants to grow. It destroys some monuments, etc. Next is anaerobic bacteria, which act on animal waste in livestock ranches, form nitrous oxide, which is a greenhouse gas and is responsible for causing global warming. Deforestation is the major problem, which leads to the release of vast store of nitrogen stored in the plant and soil. Agricultural runoffs with nitrogenous waste and also sewage cause eutrophication. As we know, in agricultural field, there are different fertilizers are used by the farmers. So when these chemicals run off and mix with the water body get excessively rich with nutrients, which leads to dense growth of plant life over the water, such as algae. So some algae even produce toxin, which not only affect the aquatic life, means the fishes present in that water, but are harmful to higher forms of life as well. And the last one is harvesting of crops remove nitrogen from the topsoil and make it infertile.